And Mr. Sullivan, what does your model say that means for us here?
Well, that's where it becomes a projection. But, well, sir, if those assets decrease by just 25% and remain on our books, that loss would be greater than the current market capitalization of this entire company.
So, what you're telling me is that the music is about to stop, and we're going to be left holding the biggest bag of odorous excrement ever assembled in the history of capitalism.
Sir, I'm not sure that I would put it that way, but let me clarify, using your analogy, what this model shows is the music, so to speak, just slowing. If the music were to stop, as you put it, then this model wouldn't be even close to that scenario. It would be considerably worse.
Standing here tonight, I'm afraid that I don't hear a thing. Just silence.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Endgame GCR podcast, episode 3. I am your host, Awaken 3D.
And I'm your host, Marie G. Glad to see everyone.
Yeah, welcome to this third installment in our GCR journey. So, just a little side note, please, if you're enjoying this, please like, follow, or subscribe to this podcast. The little buttons below your screen there, depending on the platform you're listening to this on. It really helps us know what you like to hear and that we're doing a good job. And also feel free to leave comments and questions in the comment section on whatever platform you're listening to this on. So today's subject is GCR Gold, digital currencies, and the QFS. So this is going to be a great topic, Marie.
Oh yeah.
So we're gonna
dispel some myths today.
Some myths, and also what our opinion is what's happening in the real world, right? And things that are concrete and you can latch onto and know that they are actually happening, which is why we do this. So the main point of this is we're going to be discussing the increasing global activity around FinTech or FinTech. I think I've been saying it wrong, Marie. It's FinTech, right? Finance technology, right? Yes. I always say FinTech like shark fin. All right. So FinTech and the use of gold to back financial technology, monetary system. And that will be the main challenge to the current global fiat currency debt system, which is very much on its way out, which is covered in all of our podcasts here. And then we're going to discuss, is this the QFS, right? The QFS has been known as a lot of things. Right. So we're gonna discuss our thoughts and opinions on the QFS and how it relates to gold and digital money. So another note, we will be expanding upon terms and topics in this podcast, episode 3, that follow on or were built up and described in our first 2 episodes. So if you are confused by some of the terms that we're using or references, please go back and listen to episode 1 and episode 2 of the Endgame GCR podcast, and that will catch you right up, and you'll be able to follow along with everything, because each podcast that we do is going to build upon things we discuss in previous podcasts, kind of like a book with chapters, right? All right. So let's get into this. So again, this is Endgame GCR. And the reason it's called Endgame GCR is because the end game is you and I are going to be able to go and exchange our currencies or redeem our GCR bonds or both.
Right.
And we're trying to explore all the topics and scenarios in the macro and the micro picture of GCR land so that everyone can learn and we can share each other's experiences and come to a solid understanding and be ready when that happens. Sound good, Marie?
Right. Right. We want to give more of a realistic point of view of, how this is going to go down, what elements are there. There's so much to it. And Dinar land, GCR land is really taking things in a sideways manner. So we want to kind of dispel some of that and give you an actual real world idea of what could, and we emphasize could, happen.
Yes. So clearly, if we're going to be exchanging or redeeming, there has to be mechanisms for that, right? So
Right.
I think both of us are agreed, and I'm sure the vast majority of our listeners are agreed that the GCR definitely has a gold component. That's the
Absolutely.
source of stability. It's the source of non-manipulation. And, well, if you have a gold-backed currency, it is the exact opposite of a fiat currency. And
Right.
that's all we need to say about that. And then, of course, how is this going to be dispensed?
Right. Yeah, that's where the mechanism comes in is it going to be digital? Is it going to be traditional? And I think the consensus is we're moving in a digital direction. So we need to embrace that and learn about that.
Right.
That's where, all of this comes into play. And that's when we do what we do.
Right. And that, even if we go back years, 6, 7 years, I can't remember the first time I heard the term QFS, which is commonly known as an acronym for Quantum Financial System. And I would hear from my various sources years ago that this was going to be a way that you could exchange or manage, the exchanged value, call it the benefit or just, the cash you get, right? But cash is a different definition, right? But it's
Right.
the store of value that you can actually go out and purchase things with and buy things with and do things with. And I used to hear what the QFS was going to do, and I would joke and say, well, what's going to happen? There's suddenly going to be like a QFS branch of the QFS bank on every corner across the world, for people to use. Now, remember, this was 6, 7 years ago, maybe more.
Of course. Right.
And, digital finance, blockchain, all the things we're going to discuss here today were not really defined. It was just, really getting going. There was only Bitcoin and that kind of thing. But now we're in a totally different world. And I can see that what I originally heard about the QFS capability and how you would work with it years ago, and what we're going to talk about here now is actually that. So I believe this is the QFS, but it's different than what is commonly known as the QFS or what many have been told the QFS is and what it does. But hopefully we're going to clarify that here today. So let's get into it. Marie, where do you want to start?
All right. Oh, well, let's just start at the top. What is the QFS? Do we really know? Do we have an idea? What's your take on it?
Well, okay, I'm going to start with the words quantum financial system. One of the major misnomers, I think, or where people are misinformed by a few of the more vocal folks out there in social media and all that, is that, the word quantum somehow means some highly advanced, futuristic, Star Trek-like computer, right? Based on quantum computing. And that may or may not be true. I don't technically believe that quantum computing is far enough along to be able to do what we're talking about here today, right?
Right.
It could be. Now, of course, there's the side that says, well, we really don't know. Quantum computing could be way far advanced and it's just the public has never heard about it. Well, that may be. Don't know.
Right.
However, I don't believe you need quantum computing technology to actually to manage the GCR exchanges and redemptions and then be able to go out and purchase things. So I believe that quantum refers to, quantum computing used the word quantum because the actual definition of the word quantum is the smallest amount of something that can possibly be, right? Breaking down something into its smallest element, right? So quantum computing, it uses that phrase quantum because they do computing based on electrons or other types of things that is the smallest amount of matter you can actually create, computing language with. We have binary today. Right. With quantum, it will be a quantum state, which can be a 1, a 0, or both, right? And that's totally different than binary. But they call it quantum because they're using the smallest possible element that they can to create the base computing capability. So quantum just means the smallest amount of something possible. And so, great, quantum financial system. And however, the other abilities that were discussed about the QFS were that everyone would be able to use it and it would bypass banks. Now, I never understood this years ago, but now I do, right? And because of blockchain, decentralized finance, well, there you go, decentralized finance. And that means what a lot of developments that are ongoing today are not going to likely utilize the traditional banking system. But then, Marie, you're the expert in this, not me. So why don't you tell me what your take on QFS is?
Well, my take is that it's nothing more than a ledger, to be honest with you. It's a blockchain ledger. It's not meant for you to access it as a personal account. I've never thought that. I've always been on the side of, it involves quantum computers because there has to be a continuous monitor of so many points of data, so many, points of collection. It has to be able to collect them, sort them, compute them, and store them on a blockchain. And I'm talking every second of every day. That's the only way the instant settlement works. So when I think of the QFS, that's what I think of.
All right, well, let's break that down. Let's break that down.
Okay.
So you're teaching me something here. So so the thing is I totally agree. At the heart of all decentralized technology is the heart, the backbone, if you will, it's a ledger. It's a decentralized ledger, and as opposed to a centralized. So, for instance, if a government implements a CBDC, a central bank digital currency, that's going to be a unified ledger, correct?
Right.
Yeah, that means every bank or every government agency has access. So that's the opposite of decentralized. That means everything you ever do will be on that unified ledger. Whereas The QFS, getting back to what you just said, Marie, the QFS is a blockchain ledger with smart contracts, correct? You know,
Yes.
and it is transparent, but that doesn't mean everyone can see what you're doing. It's
Correct.
transparent, meaning if I went in and tried to rob somebody or hack into their account or do something illegal with my funds, that would be trackable and traceable, meaning
Yes.
I would get caught, right?
Exactly. And that's everyone wants to say that the QFS prevents that kind of thing from happening. It doesn't prevent it. It simply monitors it, and it gives it the ability to be tracked, apprehended, and prosecuted completely. That's part of what it does. It doesn't stop the nefarious things from happening. It simply gives gives the system the ability to track every cent that could be used for those nefarious purposes.
Right. So if I wanted to, make a trip to some foreign country and purchase a couple of pallets of illegal drugs, that would probably be flagged, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But if I want to go buy a house, or
that's not going to be flagged because it's done through legal means. It's done through proper channels, proper nodes, proper everything on the system.
Right.
That's okay. But it's the nefarious things that do not have the proper codes, do not have the proper channels, are not in the compliance of it. That's what gets flagged and will eventually become prosecuted. Yes.
All right. So I think probably what our listeners are wondering right now, I mean, we're getting into a lot of detail already here.
We are.
But bear with us, folks. I mean, this is a lot of stuff, and we're here to go through it one piece at a time. And so I think one question, at least that I have, and I'm sure a lot of listeners have right now, is, well, you mentioned the only thing that you think the QFS is a ledger, right? A decentralized ledger. So how do we then get to the part where we can interact with it and access our funds that are on that ledger, right? So let me set up a scenario. All right.
Okay.
So we've launched the gold back system. It's digital. It's got the QFS ledger, right?
Right.
It's transparent, but it's safe and secure. And so now I have gone in, done my exchange, and now I've got a good amount of funds, and I want to go do something with. When I say funds, I'm using the word funds because I don't want to say cash.
Right.
What I have is a store of value on the ledger.
There you go.
So
because we don't want to give it a proper name because we don't know, we don't know what it will actually be called yet. So, and we don't want to say cash because
yeah,
everybody wants cash.
Yeah, I mean, when I say cash, I'm specifically referring to paper notes, right?
Yeah.
And we'll probably, I don't want to get into the whole cash, how, like, what if I just want cash? I just exchanged.
Right.
And, can you go down
because
to
that
the
gets
local.
into a gray, murky area.
Right. Can I go to an ATM machine? Let's say I've got this app on my phone, or I was given a debit card that's connected to my place on the QFS ledger. Should I be able to walk up to my bank and either get some US dollars out of the ATM machine, or go into the bank and say, or just transfer money from my ledger account into my traditional bank account? But I think that's a whole subject for a different show, right?
Yes.
Let's stick to the backbone and back to my, you see, I get into this and I start going.
We could, so many rabbit holes.
Yeah. So I've just exchanged, and I've got a store of value. I think it's important for folks to understand that store of value may not be denominated in any fiat currency that you're familiar with, right?
Right.
I believe that the store of value will be in a gold-backed, call it an asset, a gold-backed asset,
Yes.
which could either be a token, a tokenized gold asset, or the similar thing, a stable coin.
Like a certain unit of value backed by gold. Yes.
Right. So, so let me take people through this. So I've just done my exchange. I just turned in, 1,000,000 Vietnamese dong and I don't know, a couple 100,000 Iraqi dinar, maybe some Malaysian ringgit, who knows, some Iranian rial, these kinds of things. And those were accepted for exchange, and they were exchanged into, let's call it QFS units. Can we just make that name up right now?
Okay. That works.
Yeah.
QFS units.
So,
all right.
QFS units, and now I have an account on the ledger, right? And so when I've turned in exchanged my currencies, let's say I now have 500 QFS units. There we go. That's not dollars. It's not euros. It's not Canadian dollars. It's not Mexican pesos, because those are all fiat currencies, right? What it is QFS gold units. So they represent a specific weight of gold, and they have the value of gold that can be referenced in a fiat currency, right? So people are already going, what do you mean 500? Come on, Awake. You just said you exchanged 1,000,000 VND and all this, but you only got 500 QFS gold
and
units.
That's where the determining of the weight value of gold will come into play.
Yes.
We don't know. One QFS unit could be worth one ounce of gold.
Yep.
If that's the case, that's what, $2,400 almost.
Yeah.
Or it could be based on 1 gram of gold. We don't know. And that's where we kind of have to, say we don't really know. We have to assume it.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for a gram, because people way smarter than me, and folks, go back to our previous 2 podcast episodes, 1 and 2. We really went into how this works with what BRICS are doing, and they have some very, very intelligent international from multiple countries figuring this out, and they have decided on 1 BRICS unit will it's basically they're using 1 gram of gold as the core unit, correct? And then they just split it from there.
Value. Yeah.
Yep. So let's just stick with the grams. I think grams make sense, but a QFS unit could be 1 gram, a half a gram, or 5 grams. We don't know.
Right.
It all depends on how many gold QFS units are minted in the GCR ledger or the QFS ledger system, right?
Right.
So if there's a whole bunch of gold in there, because remember, we're not talking about BRICS anymore, people. We're just talking about the QFS, the RV, GCR. We believe from our previous shows that the BRICS gold-backed unit financial and currency system is the model for the GCR. But that doesn't mean the GCR gold is going to be minted, the gold units or tokens or stable coins are going to be minted the same as the way BRICS are going to do it. But so back to my measly 500, QFS units that I received for my currency exchange. So 1 unit, by the time this is all said and done, because there's going to be, my belief is rooted in many years in this, there will be a substantial amount of gold brought to bear to back the QFS ledger system. And it is not what we hear about. Like if you Google how much gold is there in the world, right? There are vast amounts of what I call off-ledger gold. And this is historical gold that goes back to the days of, I don't want to say King Solomon, because that's a whole other rabbit hole. Like, did he have gold? Did he have the King Solomon's mines? Great movie, by the way, but I can't prove that. But it definitely goes back to Alexander the Great, because he pilfered tons of gold, like many tons. And, you know, and then we have all of the gold that got lost when the Spanish looted South America.
Conquistadors.
Yep. I mean, it was just galleons after fleets of galleons of gold going back and forth from South America to Spain. A lot of that gold has never been recovered. Right? Nobody knows where it went. It was a long time ago. So the GCR, in my belief, has that gold is accounted for, it's stored away, it's secret, and we just call that the world collateral accounts or the global collateral accounts. But we're talking several 100,000 tons of gold off ledger. You can't Google it. Well, you can Google off-ledger gold. You're going to find it. Probably several of my articles right in there with it. But the plug. And so let's just say, back to my measly 500. I'm getting to the point, people. So my 500 units, QFS units that I got for my potentially, couple million currency, unit, note exchange, that 500 units against fiat currencies could be worth millions and millions of dollars, right? So
it could be. Yeah.
It could be. Yeah. It could be more. It could be less. But I have a reputation for not predicting dates or rates, right? So
we're not gonna do that.
Because 1 gram, let's say if 1 gram of gold today, it's about $75, right? In a short period of time, especially when the fiat currency system begins its quickening to the crash, right? Slowly at first, then all of a sudden.
And suddenly.
Yeah. Gold is going to appreciate dramatically in value, right? So that's another variable why we can't really predict rates or what a currency exchange would end up being. So what would one VND be in US dollars? Well, what's the value of gold against the dollar at that time? Today, it's a good amount. But tomorrow, it could be 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times that amount. So my 500 QFS units, let's just say it's worth $5 million, okay? $5 million if I were to look at it in terms of fiat dollars, right? So it's still 500 QFS units, but if I convert it, I have to spend it somewhere, Marie, right? So because I live in the United States, as do you, if I'm going to, start a business or do a humanitarian or economic development project, clearly I'm going to be spending my QFS units in dollars, right?
Right.
Okay, so I don't want to I was about to diverge on another tangent, like, well, wait, isn't the dollar going to be gold backed too? The answer is no, not right away, right?
Right.
Remember, the GCR gold backed currency system is gold backed. And it will be introduced, as we've stated in previous podcasts, as an alternative to the global fiat currency system, right?
Which is currently has the US dollar as its world reserve currency.
Right. So when we all, would it be safe to assume, Marie, that I'm thinking correctly, when we look at some of the purported exchange rates that have been infinitely talked about in GCR land, I've written a lot of articles and stated a lot of things in my chat room. It's like, there's no way the dinar as a fiat currency can just go from 0.0007 dollars for one dinar to $3 plus for one dinar. Unless they have asset backing to their currency, because there's no way they can pay $25 trillion or more in fiat currency if they suddenly revalued and we were still in a fiat currency system. It doesn't work that way, people, in the real world. It is economics 101. You cannot do that, right?
That would bankrupt the country.
It would bankrupt Iraq overnight, literally.
Absolutely.
So, however, we're talking about a gold-backed alternative system, and the fiat dollar-based system is still here. And that is where I'm thinking, Marie, that's where it is easily possible to think about if Iraq has a gold-backed, system, and we can exchange it into the QFS for QFS gold-backed units. Then if I go look at it in US dollars, it could easily be, I could easily get $3 for what one dinar was, right?
Absolutely. Yes, very much so. And what makes it possible is the gold.
Exactly.
The gold makes it possible.
I mean, just for reality check, people, BRICS is laying out their formula. It is available in the white paper. It is stated this is what they're doing, right? And they're starting with 1 gram of gold, meaning between a currency pair, the BRICS unit will be 40% of 1 gram of gold, which is 0.4 grams. So if 1 gram of gold today is worth $75, look it up. It's a fact. So you take 40% of that, right? You're talking about $32 right there, just for the 0.4 grams of gold in the BRICS unit, gold-backed unit. You're already starting at $30 to $1 US, right?
Right.
I'm assuming I did the math right. It's around 30. 40% of 75.
I'm hoping you did, because I don't have my calculator.
Nah, I'm not going to do that. Okay, so now we've established that our exchanges onto the QFS digital ledger, decentralized, and that we've just made up this phrase, someone can come up with a better name, the QFS unit, which represents a specific weight of gold. We can clearly see where our exchange rates are going to be of significant value when we go to purchase goods and services in our home countries using our native fiat currencies. And then another show that we're going to do to follow up on this is, well, what happens when the dollar and the euro become gold backed, right? We're still going to be good.
Yes.
We're going to be real good, right?
Oh, yeah.
But we're sticking with the fiat system, and now the GCR QFS is an alternative currency system rooted in gold. So now we get to your part, Marie. And now, so we have an account on the QFS ledger. We now have a store of value on the QFS ledger that came from our exchanges and redemptions. So Great.
Where do we go from here?
Yeah. Now you talk to me. I'm Awaken 3D. I've
Okay.
got my 500
Mm-hmm.
QFS units, and I can see it where? On an app? Where do I see that?
So that's where traditional banking is going to come into play, or what we call D apps, or decentralized banking apps. They're going to have the ability to pull from the QFS or alternative system. And I do want to point out this. What is on the QFS is not an account per se. It's simply a block of data that represents a value.
Okay.
That's all it is. Because people want to put account behind that, and there are some,
like I did. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some not so good people out there that use that as a means of a scam, that you have to have a QFS account prior to an exchange.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So
We
yeah,
can talk a little bit about that
I want
later.
to make that clear that
Yeah.
it's not an account. It's simply a block of data on the blockchain that represents a value.
Okay.
That's all it is.
It represents a value because the QFS unit is backed by physical gold that is under protection and stored somewhere. So literally nobody can steal from me. I mean, I they're not going to be able to like steal gold from my data on the QFS. So I think this is very important because people like me,
Yes.
I can't help but but think about this in the same way I was born and raised into, meaning like if I have a bank account, that means I have a certain amount of currency. So if I have $10,000 in this bank, that account is $10,000, right?
Right.
What's different, what you just said, just for my understanding, and I'm sure everyone else, a lot of other people too, is that our spendable value doesn't exist in what we would think of as an account in a bank. It's a packet of data that represents our value. All right, so now, okay, so we've got a packet of data. We could, so I want to go in and let's say I want to deposit whatever I want to take 10 of my QFS units and I want to deposit it into my traditional bank.
Okay.
And so under this, so I've got my value as a packet of data on the QFS ledger. It's safe and secure because the gold is somewhere else. So now how do I go to the bank or go online with my bank? How would you envision that I can move 10 of my QFS units, and let's say it represents $10,000. Okay. So,
okay.
All right.
So, what I understand, and this is my educated opinion, is that it's going to require either a traditional legacy type bank account or it's going to be a decentralized app. And you see a lot of those now. Uphold has a bank. Robinhood has a bank. There's a couple others. WhatsApp. They're all developing their banking regulations now, so they can be considered what's a decentralized app that
Twitter.
You can actually.
Twitter will
Twitter
have
now
their
has
own.
Yes. Yep. Facebook has their own. You see, all of these social medias also gain the banking rights and the money transmitting rights. So they're going to become part of the decentralized side of this shift. So basically, what's going to happen is you're in the store and or you're in the bank and you want to pull down, what you said, 10 of the QFS units, right?
Yep.
So they're going to go in and you're going to be able, only you can access your QFS block of data, because we don't want to call it an account.
Okay.
And pull down a certain amount. But what's going to happen is that has to come through a digital channel. So it's not just you're going to pull it down, they're going to hand you money, right? No, it has to come through a digital channel, which is where stable coins come into play. And that is what I call a payout token. So you don't actually touch anything ever in the QFS as far as physically touch anything. It is all digital. It is all data. It is all what is constantly being computed and sorted and collated and filed inside of this quantum computing system.
Okay.
So from there, it would have to be transferred into a stablecoin. And right now, for the United States, we have several. Tether's one, USDT, USDC through Circle's another. PayPal has their own. Oh gosh, there's numerous. And you see these now are backed by the USD, US dollars. Well, now we're seeing other countries come out with their own stable coins that have their local currencies backing these stable coins. Philippines just came out with one a few weeks ago. China is doing their own. Russia has their own. Germany has one. They're coming out because what's going to happen is it's going to absolve the need for foreign reserves. So you're going to be able to just pull money down from the QFS, the unit, QFS units from the QFS, and via a transference into the stable coin of your local currency into your traditional legacy bank account or one of the decentralized banking apps that you have on your phone or computer. From there, once it's in your traditional bank account or decentralized app bank account, it can be spent as normal currency every day at the grocery store, at the hair salon, whatever. It can be spent just like cash is right now, but it's all digital. There's never any physical interaction with anything. Everything is pulled from cloud. Everything is pulled from the QFS.
All right. So I think
Did I blow anybody's mind yet?
No, that makes total sense. All right. So I think, every country is going to have its own form of digital currency,
Yes.
right? I mean, the United
absolutely.
States, the U.S. Treasury will issue a digital dollar as a stable coin at some point, right? Whether we call it a CBDC or whatever. I don't want to get into all the bad things about CBDCs, but that's a central bank. That's not a treasury.
Right.
There's a difference between a treasury or the monetary authority, sovereign monetary authority of a country versus its central bank, right? So a lot of people are confused about the role of the central bank versus the treasury, right? So, but let's just say the U.S. Treasury issues a digital dollar that is a stable coin, right? So, because today we have, like you said, there's Tether and all of that, but these are private companies, right? So private companies should not be considered a sovereign currency. They're just using U.S. treasuries and cash, dollar cash, as collateral to maintain the USDT, the Tether, and whatnot. So let's say the U.S. Treasury has its digital dollar. It's coming. They're going to do it, right? And I think it's going to happen sooner than later. I believe it'll happen next year. And
me too.
Yep. And again, I'm talking about a treasury dollar, right? Not a reserve, Federal Reserve Bank, the Fed. I'm not talking about that. That's a different thing. So now I've got my store of value as a digital packet, my QFS units. So I can just go into my QFS, log in, right? And I will be able to select 10 QFS units and push a button, and it will be converted. It will be pulled down and automatically converted into the US dollar stable coin, right?
Yes.
And at that
Yes.
point, I mean, like right now, I have a crypto app and different exchanges. I can see what my Bitcoin or my Solana or whatever is worth in these different currencies anywhere on the planet.
Right.
Right. I can see that right now. And if I wanted to sell some of my SOL and put it into dollars, I would exchange it today into Tether. And then I would just take Tether and deposit it into my bank account. Right. So my traditional bank account. It's the same way, except we're dealing now if I'm also understanding correct, Marie. So when I'm doing this, the bank that I'm taking 10 of my QFS units and I'm going to deposit it into my bank as dollars, US dollars. My bank has no way to access my QFS data, correct?
No.
I am
That's
the
correct.
only
That's why-
one. I have to move it to them. They don't go in and take it from somewhere else.
And that's where it puts it back in the people's hands. And that's what makes it truly decentralized, that we become we have the ability to move that money or that value from the QFS down to a traditional bank account. The bankers themselves do not have that ability.
Oh, this is fascinating. This is fun. I mean, this makes total sense. And it's like the things I heard about the QFS so many years ago, and I was just like, what are you smoking? Right? I mean, whatever it is, I want some. Or ingesting, right? And so it's but this makes total sense because I can technically do this today.
Yes.
Right. So
it's just like moving money from your savings to your checking, or moving something from Wells Fargo to Bank of America. If you have the instant transfer, it's the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I have a business that uses PayPal, where I sell stuff, and sell products. So, I'm always, after I have so much in sales on PayPal, I have my PayPal balance, right? That's on PayPal, all right?
Right.
So it's not in any bank. Well, I guess PayPal has a bank somewhere, right?
Yeah, PayPal has their own.
Yeah. So, but with literally just the touch of like 3 buttons, I can move whatever I want out of my PayPal balance, and it instantly, within a day, it shows up. But I can do it in 10 minutes if I want to pay a fee. It shows up in my checking account, right?
Yep.
And it was painless. It's just like, here's how much do you want to send? Boom. Select which bank account? Boom. And it's done.
And see, people don't realize that, we're already being, I hate to use the word conditioned because that sounds bad, but we're actually being conditioned now, being able to do that type of thing, moving money between accounts, between different service providers, different authorities. We're being conditioned for that now, and the ease of it. But people don't see that. They don't accept it. They're like, they see digital and they get the frowny face, and I don't want that, But what they don't realize is that this is already happening. These type of things are already starting to happen, and you see it. It's just taking it and expounding on it further, and taking it a step further when they add in the ability for the quantum computing to take hold and take true effect.
So let's go one more step further, and then I think we've pretty much put it in the can for this episode.
Okay.
I'm always watching the time. We're at 47 minutes because I gotta do the transcript so I can summarize. And the longer we talk, the bigger the transcript gets. And it's a lot of text because, one of us talks way too much.
We're not going to name names.
So what I can do...
I like you, Sean.
I like you too. And so here's the thing. So what's another beautiful thing is that the QFS system, we will be able to execute what you would call peer-to-peer transactions, right?
Yes. Yes.
So let me break that down for dummies like me. All right. So that
Okay.
means, all right, so I've done my exchange. I've got my QFS units. It's on my app or my desktop, just like I can look at any other account. It's not complicated. It's not going to be like doing Bitcoin and all that today where you've got to
Yeah,
have this
no.
wallet, that wallet. You got 13 keys of, your passphrase. And if it'll be as secure as that, but it's complicated. Right. And,
Right.
it's like
Yes.
there's different exchanges that use different protocols. So I can't I can't just buy, if I have my Solana and I want to now take some of my Solana and buy, let's say, XRP. I can't do that. I've got to trade my Solana
Right.
into USDT first and then go and put that USDT on a different wallet that has access to the protocols of XRP, right? So
Exactly.
and that's why whenever, we mention like the GCR and our currency exchanges are going to be digital, people right away start going, oh my God, no way, that's complicated.
Yeah.
I tried
Yeah.
to do this crypto thing and it drives me nuts. And
Yep.
no, we're talking about something as easy as using PayPal or Venmo or
Exactly.
whatever, desktop.
And Venmo is a perfect example of a P2P type setup.
Right. So let's get into
that's-
this. Here's my example.
Yes.
All right. I've done my exchange, and now, Marie, you have a house. And, I won't say where you live, but you have a house in a place that I think I would like to have, for a vacation spot or something like that.
Right.
So I've got my QFS app or desktop software or whatever. And now you have your digital apps or whatever, but I will be able to say, if you say, okay, awake, I'll sell you my house and here's the price, I will be able to just transfer the price of the house directly to you.
Yes.
And it will never touch a bank, a traditional bank. All of a sudden, what I sent to you is on your store of value, your QFS store of value, and it's done, right? And of course, I know there's other things like transfer of title and all of that stuff, but that's moving into digital tokenization also, right? Your title will be, but literally, with peer-to-peer, if your title is tokenized, the transfer of ownership to the title immediately comes onto my blockchain, right?
Yes.
Now
and that's
I own
where,
it.
and see, that's where the beauty of digitization works. Because everything, including electronic trade documents and all that, is digitized, it's tokenized. So just like you said, when the value clears into your traditional account or your DApp account or whatever, so is the title, so is the deed, so is the paperwork, so is this, so is that.
It'll go to the county. The county will be immediately aware of it, on the publicly shared portion.
Absolutely.
So that's where this kind of stuff is moving, where it's like, I will be able to buy a house from you. We will not have to talk to a bank. We will not have to get involved with all these middlemen, all these bottom-feeding parasitic companies. I bought a lot of houses in my life, right?
Loan originators,
whoever, I've done multiple houses, some in different countries. And it's just like, I still don't know what a loan originator does, right? So, and I don't care.
Right.
So but here's the point. I'll be able, you say, here's this price, I negotiate, we agree, I push a button, maybe a couple. You push a couple buttons and everything is done with no fees, no middlemen, no nothing, right?
Right.
Yep. And they'll even be in traditional sense outside of the GCR. Eventually this will be, if you need a mortgage and a loan, that'll all be on the blockchain. You just hit a few buttons, you'll qualify for the loan, and that loan amount will now be available for me to buy the house from you, peer-to-peer direct, right? So, okay. So I think we've got a pretty good understanding of GCR gold, digital currencies, and the QFS, So, is there anything else we should add, Marie? Because
No, that pretty much does it for today. There's so many holes we could go down in each certain thing, and it's just going to require more shows.
yes,
Just going to require more time.
yeah. So I while this show focused on kind of like a wrap up, just putting into a nice little wrapper, gold, the digital currency technology, and all wrapped up in the QFS, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of one subject we did a deep dive on. Yet each of these other areas we've talked about could be another show. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So again, folks, we're just iterating our opinions on how we see this playing out. Yet everything we have discussed here today actually is reality.
It is absolutely, and there's evidence to back up every single thing that we say.
Yep.
We try so hard to make sure that we have the actual sources, to confirm what we're saying.
The only thing we do not know, and we're very clear what telling you that we don't know, is we don't know the weight value of gold for let's call it a QFS unit. Right. And we don't know, obviously, what the value of gold will be versus fiat currencies at the time of our exchanges. Right.
Exactly.
I don't even know if the whatever it's called, the grand poobahs of the GCR. Right. Perhaps they will utilize this off ledger gold and they will fix a weight of gold to the meaning, actually, no, forget all that. It will have a fixed weight of gold, like a gram or 2 grams or 5 grams or a half a gram or an ounce or who knows.
But we just don't know the value. We simply don't.
And the
know
value only
the value.
matters when you're looking at fiat currencies, because that's what you're going to spend it in. Right? Until the world moves to everybody is on a gold-backed currency system. But then every price on the planet is going to adjust to the value of gold at that point. Right? So, I mean, there's coming a day, this could be crazy. This could be our, let's have a woo-woo episode where we just go, we just go off into like the realm of fantasy and all of this and just what if. I think there's a day coming when we will no longer be saying, oh, I'm gonna, I'm purchasing this in dollars or purchasing that in euros or whatever. It's really gonna be how many units, right? And
I agree.
Yep. I mean, every country will have its native currency. So yes, we still say, hey, I'm buying that house in dollars. But we won't think about the value of everything as being in dollars. It's like if my son may wake up one day and, not wake up one day, but there'll be a transition. His career, he's getting paid in units, not dollars. And those units are relative to dollars or euros or anything that there is. Right?
Right.
So it'll be like, how many units per hour are you making instead of how many dollars per hour? Right? So
that's right.
All right. Well, that's our fantasy talk for right now. All right. Well, I think that's a wrap.
Yep, I think so. We encourage everyone to, if you like what you hear, like, subscribe, share, and comment on whatever platform you're listening to this on, because this really helps us know what to talk about, what you, the listener, want to hear, and that's important to us.
Absolutely. And you can follow us. I mean, every platform has a follow button, or it might be called subscribe. And then you'll automatically be notified when we upload a new podcast, because we try to do this once a week, but time allowing, sometimes there'll be more than one in a week. Sometimes it'll be 1, 9, 10, 12 days, right? So,
right. It just depends on work and our lives. And
yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for listening. If you're still here, if you made it all the way to the 58-minute mark, hey, thank you. It means you enjoyed what we were talking about. And thank you, Marie, for co-hosting this with me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Awake. I appreciate being here.
Absolutely. And we will see you all again for the next podcast. Until then, be safe and have a great day.
Goodbye, everyone.